I welcome you. In order to listen to our meeting in English, find the globe and choose English channel. But if you do not click on the globe, you will listen to the original in Russian. Here you can see the logo of the foundation I Live Consciously. What does this foundation give us besides the opportunity to communicate with each other? It's broadening our worldview and using new knowledge. Today, I, Ludmila Valovaya, am with you tonight. I'm doctor in medicine, immunologist, geneticist, and let me briefly introduce myself. 27 years in medicine, 20 years I was a military doctor. For 26 years, I've been working on orthomolecular medicine, on herbal compositions, and I have studied 5 companies that offer supplements on the market. I was a speaker on 15 international conferences in 7 countries. Our today's topic is both funny and serious and very relevant. Discover the source of youth, improve your memory, and slow down aging. Yes, our memory sometimes fails us, but we do want it to be with us as long as possible, as well as youth. We can hear, I remember only what I need. I do not remember what I do not need. Yes, that's a good excuse, but not an explanation of something going wrong with the memory. Or sometimes people joke and say old age is not fun. But do everyone have worsening of their memory with age? I do know that not everyone. So our today's task is to speak about memory and of course about our youth. The reason of the decrease of memory, of the decline of memory are different. Some causes are mythical, some are real, but let me briefly introduce you to them. One of the things we hear is genes. That's very convenient to pass the blame on genetics every time. Unfortunately, there is no such statistics on memory. But as to different physical factors, yes, their genes play major role. For example, last century, there was family of very strong people, Podubny. All men were very strong, and Ivan Podubny at that point was the strongest man in the world. So that's about genes, but not the memory. Next factor, injuries, diseases. Yes, sometimes there can be injury caused amnesia. That's the favorite topic of movies, that someone stumbles, falls down, and forgets everything. But this kind of memory can be restored. Next, diseases. Now we hear a lot of people having memory decline due to COVID. That's a separate medical topic, but during rehabilitation, you have to work on your memory. Why does it happen? Hypoxia, brain lacks oxygen, and as a defense, it decreases memory. What are other factors? Age. Of course, this is a stereotypical view of this issue, but as to age, There are many jokes about forgetful old people. Next, stresses. Yes, stress does affect memory. The body defends itself and it simply tunes out certain things. But after a while, the brain can be restored and restore the events that happened during stress. Next, chronic sleep deprivation or not enough sleep. But if you sleep well, it will help you get restored. Next, vitamin deficiency, minerals and nutrients deficiency, which are the building block, especially fats and carbohydrates. And we will speak in greater detail about that later. And finally, what do we do about our memory throughout our life? Do we take care of it? Do we train it? How do we feed it? That's important. Children go to school to get knowledge, right? We see a girl here on the slide, probably first grader, and they go to school joyfully to get knowledge. Then higher education, and everybody goes there to get knowledge. But the thing is that they are given knowledge, but they are not taught to learn, and that's a problem. What happens? Knowledge enters and leaves fast, because we have two kinds of memory. First is short-term memory. This is the one that is staffed daily. An American psychologist, scientist, Miller, in 1956, even created a formula of short-term memory. And you can also have heard of number of Miller, wallet of Miller, law of Miller. What is that? It's the volume of short-term memory that can be used at a certain moment. The formula is simple: 7 plus minus 2. So minimum is 5 units of information, maximum is 9 units of information. So our short-term memory can store at the same moment this number of units of information. Next, long-term memory. That's our storage, where when necessary, we can take knowledge from that we received before. So if this storage is systematic, if it's in order, if everything is like archived in different files, then it's very easy to get what we need from that memory storage and use this knowledge and get new knowledge connected to previous knowledge. But if it's a chaotic landside, it's very difficult to find something. Yes, you've heard something, but you do not remember and you cannot use it. I'm probably fortunate. When I was 15 years old, I found a small book that I later searched for many years. Maybe some of you can find it. That book was titled How to Learn to Study. For me, it was very useful. I'm still grateful to that book because already then I learned to learn to study so that I can use the knowledge later. Those who know me more have seeing that I have a lot of information in my memory that I can always use when necessary. So let's discuss the brain and memory potential. We all have brains, and the brain has great potential. Everybody has it. So, what's our brain? Two hemispheres. Left, responsible for logics, numbers, calculations, tables, and so on. And right hemisphere, creative, music, art, dances. That's the creative hemisphere. And so, what do we have there? We have neurons, nerve cells that everyone has, but every new information creates a connection between neurons, like a link between them. And every new information, every new knowledge and skill is connecting neurons, and memory depends on the quantity of these links. They can be very numerous, both for new knowledge and for old knowledge, and we can use that. And it's very important for us to broaden the links. For example, sports, dances, that's another kind of brain work, which means new links. Doing maths, it's not just numbers and formulas, it's developing the brain so that further on, the person who studied math and thought, oh, I will never use these formulas. No, this person then can use these links in every situation to look at every situation broader. Music is another kind of brain activity which activates other brain centers, which is very useful. So we have to develop our memory through new knowledge and support it through old knowledge, through old links. About musical education, I would like to say something. It gives the opportunity to a person in the future to better see, hear, and perceive the world in a brighter manner. Quite long ago, in antiquity, education was called trivium. It was a system of education only for the elite, but slaves were forbidden to get that education. So, what that system was? Trivium was 7 sciences, which included 3 plus 4. 3 was grammar, logic, and rhetoric. And 4 was arithmetics, geometry, music with dances, and astrology. Well, at that point, you understand that astrology was important for them. So the development of the youth was done according to that system, which gave them balanced development of left and right hemisphere. Our brain, our memory always chooses the best option from what it has. And you can have a different number of options, which depends on who? On us, on how we trained our brain since childhood. And we can also help our children get developed well. Unfortunately, I had to have another slide here, but for technical reasons, I don't have it. It was called Children Are Flowers of Our Life, but do not allow it to blossom too fast. You know, when you have a baby, you are so happy, and then the baby goes to school, and it's a tragedy. The child is not interested, doesn't want to do home tasks, and everybody suffers. But there is an interesting statistics. Now, up to 60% of children in the first grade, which is more than a half, suffer with unformed speech. What does it mean? They don't have enough vocabulary. It's difficult for them to express their thoughts. That's rhetoric that was used in antiquity. The memory development with children starts with systematic knowledge. What does it mean? Since 3, 4 years of age, when there is a system of words, and word is the minimal unit of memory, you have to talk to your children. So what does the statistics show? That the main reason is that parents insufficiently talk to their child. They talk too little. Communication is replaced with gadgets. As a result, children lose concentration of attention. That's 50% of memory. On the other hand, children can hear from parents, and I have heard it myself, and even I heard it from my parents when I was young. Why do you need to teach that? That's excessive knowledge. That's unnecessary subject. You will never use it, and so on and so forth. And then the brain of the child hears it and concludes, why do I need it? So all the subjects, yes, they are different, but they create new links between neurons. That's our memory. In childhood, it helps us create potential for our links. After 40 years of age, that's very difficult. As one of my colleagues said, he had to pass some test, like doctors have to increase their qualification. And he told me, after 40 years of age, it's like driving nails into concrete when you need to memorize something. Truly, after 40 years of age, all biochemical processes slow down in the body, and memory is not exception. But it's not about disorders of memory. It's just that memory hadn't been trained enough, hadn't had enough links. So my advice, my recommendation, if it seems to you that children study some unnecessary subject, never say that in front of the child. Don't make your child not create links and have worse memory. Everything they learn will be links that memory will use later. Teenagers and popcorn brain. So, what is popcorn? We remember movies and we hold popcorn, salty or sweet. What happens at that moment? It's not bad or good. It's just how it is. So, what happens in our brain? Unfocusing between reality and the concentration of attention. So you get vague attention. So why such a title invented by psychologist for teenage brain? Everybody knows TikTok, right? It's an interesting medium. There are very interesting mini videos for 15 or 20 seconds. And it's not just 20 seconds. The scientists have learned that short-term memory, also called primary memory, holds an image only for 20 seconds. And then there is next and next information. But what happens in these 20 seconds in the brain? Release of dopamine, pleasure hormone. The body has received pleasure dopamine. And what does it want? It wants more. Another 20 seconds of dopamine and another 20 seconds of dopamine. And you cannot stop. It's like drugs. I think even grown-ups have noticed that if you scroll through TikTok, you lose time, you lose reality. And when a child leaves TikTok, then life around becomes uninteresting because there is no dopamine every 20 seconds, constant release of it. So life becomes boring. And then they have to study something. Oh, that's torture, not enough joy. And both teenagers and grown ups are trapped. So please just remember these reels indeed are interesting, but those 20 seconds really release dopamine, and then you can't stop. Grown-ups even can't stop, but teenagers become addicted. So once again, let me emphasize, it makes life boring, uninteresting, and memory gets stuffed. Can you imagine how much information is added to the brain? So trash in, trash out. That's why this is called a popcorn brain. Let me see about the slides. Just a moment. Let's go to adults. Nowadays, it's not a secret, humanity is more sedentary. And yes, they started going to gym, started walking, counting steps, 10,000 steps, 12,000 steps, and so on. We train our body. But what about our brain? What about our memory? Why is there a decline, though there is such a flow of information? Yes, we are living in very fast time. The civilization allows us to use our memory less and less because there are so many memory devices. We have a phone that has a calculator. Why do I have to calculate if I have a calculator? If there are reminders, why do I have to remember something? There are flash drives would remember it instead of me. So what happens then as a result? Then there is this principle: good pencil is better than good memory, and then the brain is not trained. And why I said 40 years of age, because in 35 to 40 years of age is the end of our warranty. All the living things have their warranty time when what is given by nature is enough. Any egg of any bird has enough nutrients for the bird to form. Or turtles, for example, also lay eggs. So when the nutrients end, then the bird has to get out of the egg, and then it has to take care of its health and of its food on its own. Same goes for plants. Every seed has enough nutrients for the roots and first leaves to appear, and then they have to get what they need. Same is for people. We have 35 to 40 years of warranty, but then we have to take care about our health, including memory. If we sleep less, we don't have enough time. What does it influence? It makes us unconcentrated, makes us forget. And to restore cognitive functions, we have to have at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep, ideally 8, 9 hours of sleep. Next factor is food. And currently, the situation is that our bodies are saturated but are hungry because we have eaten enough, but our organs lack nutrients. let's discuss our memory. What are its functions? Our brain keeps everything. Everything that you heard in your entire life or have seen in your entire life, it's all there in the brain. There is this latent memory. It's all there. Let me confirm my words. If a person is hypnotized, they remember details from the earliest childhood. Great news, by the way. We can hypnotize ourselves, and we will discuss it. So what are the functions of memory? Memorization, that's short-term memory. Storage, that's long term, and and it also plays back what we have found out at some point. So these signals, these links between neurons, and forgetting when we need it. Also, memory remembers faces. Some remember faces well, some not. Some cannot remember names, for example. Texts, numbers, foreign words. It's all our memory. And the components of our memory: natural memory, which we have from birth, and then professional memory, where from year to year, from decade to decade, the links that have already happened between neurons, and they have been strengthened and strengthened all the time and fortified all the time, that if a person loses memory completely, then they cannot lose their professionalism. You might have heard about it. That's there is a Polish movie, an old Polish movie, which is called Znachar. It's about a person who lost his memory completely in an accident, and he didn't remember his name, nothing. But when he got surgery tools in his hands, he made a very difficult surgery on the brain, and it turned out he was a neurosurgeon. So so the professional memory keeps being fortified, therefore it's very strong. Next, the process of memory evolution. Our brain is lazy. It doesn't want to learn anything, doesn't want to memorize anything. And sometimes everything falls out from our head, doesn't stick like on a non-stick pan. So if you do not work on it, if you do not train it, it doesn't work. Because we do work on our body, we work on our beauty, but we also have to work on our memory. Otherwise, brain grows weaker and weaker. And then after 40, because the warranty ends, the memory goes worse. And besides biochemical processes that slow down with age, they don't disappear, they just slow down. Besides that, our brain doesn't want to take new things in because it defends us from something new, something unknown, which could potentially be dangerous. It's a historical function. If the brain didn't have this function, humanity wouldn't have survived. It would have eaten anything they could find, like poisonous mushrooms and so on. But brain says that's unknown, that's something new, means it's dangerous. And though humanity has developed and brain has developed, but this function of defense remained. So the brain wants to limit anything new. And it uses laziness for that, saying, I don't want, I don't want, I don't want. That's in theory. But there is also science supporting that. So the thing is that 90% of our thoughts and of new information that comes to us is energy dependent part. So you have to spend a lot of energy in your brain to remember something. 25% of the energy of the whole body. And only 10% of thoughts are not energy dependent. So to make your brain work, learn, memorize is not easy because it doesn't bring pleasure to spend so much energy. And also historically, the brain protects you from everything new. But we are Homo sapiens and we understand. For example, students, they have to take the test. For example, the whole semester they haven't studied, and the last 2 days remain, or the last night before the test. And what happens? 90% of energy dependent part of brain starts boiling up, kind of, it seems, because there's not enough energy. And where is energy? Food. So students are hungry, they start eating everything because they lack energy to memorize things. And I remember an amazing movie, Operation U. And one part is about students that couple hours before the test, they study and study. And everything that it gets into their hands, they start eating. They put mustard on a sweet bun, but they don't notice. They just eat everything. And when I watched it, I understood why it happened. So if you have the opportunity, pay attention to this moment. It's because they lack energy. They need a lot of energy to memorize. Good news is that we can train our memory. How do you negotiate with your brain? First of all, remember that we all have normal memory. We just have it. Some people say, "Oh, I don't have memory." And then or they say, I have like a chicken memory. But let me say, even chicken has memory. They can remember 100 uh, faces of people. But we are not chicken, you understand? So how do we negotiate with our brain? For example, self-hypnosis. Make yourself joyful with a picture of beautiful future, because our brain and our memory sees images, and it does not differentiate a dream, a future from reality. That's what advertisers use. They need a brain to like something. Let me tell you an example. When 26 years ago I studied the alopecia problem about hair loss, and I paid attention to advertisements with beautiful, luscious hair. Just a girl walks, shakes her hair, and everybody turns. So the brain that watches these advertisements says, I like it, I want it. And they don't look at the composition of the shampoo. It's just that this advertisement made brain joyful and it wants that shampoo. Uh, and it will not help the hair, but the brain still wants it. But we can use that to negotiate with the brain. Just paint the picture to your brain. I will be this successful, this joyful if I train. It's like in the gym. You see on the posters beautiful bodies and brain says, I want it, I like it. And then a person starts doing what needs to be done, imagining their body. All weight loss programs start with imagining yourself. This is self hypnosis. You have to love yourself, the new version of yourself. And another thing, many people are overweight, and in order not to work on their body, they invented another thing. They invented body positivism. So you're beautiful no matter how you look. This is also a kind of self hypnosis. Athletes use self hypnosis a lot. They play the future result in their brain. They see how they put the ball in the basket, and then they have higher results. Hopefully, you recognize this lady, Gone with the Wind, translated in so many languages by Margaret Mitchell. And there's a wonderful phrase: when you put labor into something, you start loving it. Memorizing something, is it labor? Yes. But the harder you work intellectually, the more stable will be your neuron links, because the brain will like it. When the brain likes it, then it wants it and it's ready to invest labor. And the functions of memorizing then happens differently, on a different scale, different attitude. So, as to memory, we have to help it. How to help it? Let's look at it. What does memory need? It needs training, brain fitness, or call it whatever you want. So, you have to have constant intellectual exercise, getting new information. Talk to your brain. You can negotiate that new information is not painful but interesting. For example, our webinars, you get to know something new every time. I hope so. You could also use puzzles, use crosswords, and that's wonderful. Or you walk on the street, you see cars, you see their numbers, just add those numbers together. That will help train your brain muscle. In the evening, when you go to bed, in the East, what they do before sleeping, they remember all their day in details, not just what they had for breakfast or lunch, but remember everything that happened consequentially. And it's a very good training. And there's another thing. For example, in the evening, you are somewhere, you have to not forget something, you put a mark somewhere, for example, on your hand. And then when they wash their hands, they remember they have to do something. Or some people use other methods, like a ring. They move from one hand to another hand, then they see that the ring is in the wrong place and they remember something. So that these like notes to yourself. Another easy training, learning poetry. When your children were in the kindergarten and learned poems, and then the whole family helped them learn, and everybody knew that poem, then kindergarten ends and we stop learning poetry or learning text. Is even more, that is not poetic, is even greater training for the brain. Another interesting trick, everything I'm telling you right now, I have all used it, and my children have used it, my grandchildren have used it, and it all works, believe me. So, and the next method is systematic thinking. Remember, I told you that our storage must not be chaotic, otherwise, you can't find anything there. So, you have to put your storage in order, like in the archive. So, how do you do that? Try in 3 minutes to write, for example, 10 professions or 10 European countries or 10 states of the United States, 10 rivers, 10 islands, or what else? Names. So in 3 minutes, 10 something. And you can make it more and more complicated. 10 articles of something and etc. And then your archive will be systematized. And then in 2 minutes, you will be able to write down 15 or 20. So trained memory can give you 30 something in 3 minutes when you have systematic thinking. And uh, remember this game in childhood with the ball. I know 5 names, I know 5 cities, etc. So use that and give yourself more and more complicated tasks. If you forget something, some forget their phone, some their umbrella, some their keys, then I suggest you a method. Just this thing you keep forgetting, give it a name, like a child. Give it a name. For example, Sasha, Masha, whatever name, and then when you leave, you will never leave some place without taking your child, right? You will not leave the child behind. So it works, and then you will not forget your things. And another method called an auditor or a spy. It works wonderfully. You can do it with your children or also train yourself. Put 10 things, 10 items, 10 toys. How I did it, I I remembered the order of the books on the shelf or the toys on the shelf. Then I turn away and I remember the colors, the names, the order. It works very well. What else is helpful for the memory? Physical activity, not only for the body, but for the brain. When you do the same things you do, but in a different way, and it will help you. For example, if you are a right-handed person, you write with the right hand, you brush your teeth, you comb. Try doing it with the left hand, and you will remember many things. Grown-ups know also that adequate sleep is important. Now about bad habits like smoking, alcohol, drinking alcohol, etc. I mean, not in moderation. So about alcohol, you have to know that vitamin B1 is not absorbed even when you drink too much beer. What Australia decided, they started to add B1 to the alcohol. Next, live communication, not in work. Work is professional memory. Go join a certain interest group, for example, choir. Then you do something interesting, and it increases your memory. Dual life is also interesting communication, also non-professional communication. Next, regular supplements, and that's what we are going to start discussing now. What does Duo Life offer us in order to help our memory grow better and better and better? So, how I built this program, you will now understand. A bit unusual, not like always, but hopefully you will understand. First, probactillardi. Why do I show it first? which because whatever we eat or drink, it has to go to our gut and get absorbed there. But we are talking about memory. So gut, when it's healthy, it works well, and it has Schwann cells. These cells which generate myelin. What is that? It's isolation for neurons. And so it helps restore the links of neural impulse, because if there are disorders, if myelin is not enough, then there will be serious diseases of nervous system. For example, Alzheimer's, and you know that how that influences the brain. So probactillardia, just remember, is necessary to everyone who wants healthy memory and to prolong their youth. Next, composition, procardial. Why do I talk about it here? Because if everything is good with our gut and it absorbs everything, then where does it all go? It goes into our blood, and our blood has to carry all these necessary building blocks, vitamins, minerals, and so on, to every organ, every cell. So which organ pumps blood? Heart. So this is parapharmaceutical from medical formula. It supports normal work of the heart and every vessel. So what does it do? We're talking about memory now. So it regulates the viscosity of the blood. You know that memory decreases with aging, and blood becomes more viscous. And some people have to take special drugs for that. So procardial decreases viscosity, which means it helps decrease pressure and helps provide oxygen to the brain. This and brain needs oxygen. It's natural energy. And let me quote one ingredient, and you will know why. Let me enlarge your knowledge. This is pomegranate extract. It increases and improves memory and sleep. And in parallel, it is one of anti parasitary means which kills parasites. Next, sweet couple. Let me tell you why we mention these formulas here. Because when you get all the nutrients and blood delivered them to every organ, to every cell, but for them to get into the cell, they have to go through the vessel wall. And then this vessel wall has to be healthy and clean, without cholesterol deposits, without sugar damage. So carbohydrate metabolism is important, and fat metabolism is important for the vessels. That's why pro sugar and pro cultural. So pro sugar, it controls glucose in your blood, balances the level of glucose. And let me draw your attention to one very interesting ingredient which increases the movement of all liquid, which means that it provides the oxygen uh, to the brain, which improves the memory and strengthens the muscles of the vessels. Every vessel's wall is a muscle. So pro sugar restores and strengthens this muscle. Now, procultural is immunomodulator of direct action, and it decreases the bad cholesterol, which atherosclerosis, you know how bad it is. So, two ingredients that are very interesting. Gynostemma pentaphyllum restores 5 systems of the organism. It's amidst 10 best tonic herbs. It restores neural system, which means also our brain, our memory. Also reproductive system. This is our youth. And cardiovascular, we have already mentioned. We can't go without it. And immune system, which is our health, and digestive system. And second ingredient in procultural that is connected to our memory, it's Brahmi leaves. What is that? It's tonic for our brain. And this extract brings oxygen to the brain, decreases fear, insomnia, etc., which is important for our memory. What else do I recommend? Why have I named Brahmi leaves? To increase this effect and to also have pleasure, which is something our brain likes. We all like pleasure. When apricots are ripe, add apricots as many as possible to your ration, because together with procultural it will increase the result in decreasing bad cholesterol. And mushrooms, even champignons, which can be bought in the shop, they don't have calories, but they help decrease cholesterol. And if you notice on your skin pigment spots that are protruding, this is lipofuscin. These are lipids that have not been metabolized, and it means that it also influences our brain. So these two formulas help. Of course, they also have minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, and many useful things. But in this program, I explained why. Next pair, why is it together and why do we need it? Our brain is a fat organ, 60-70% of fat. And for its normal activity, for the intellect, for our memory, our brain needs fats. What kind of fats? Essential fats. Polyunsaturated fat acids, omega-3, 6, and 9, and of course, vitamin D3. This is our normal memory and our attention. And there is another substance that is also important, phospholipids. The cell walls need them, and they influence short-term and long-term, and it's all in cold pressed oils. So if the cell membrane, cell wall is damaged, then these compositions repair it fast and improve cognitive abilities. Vitamin D3 in liquid gold is from lichen, but in Nigella oil, it's from black cumin. So it's kind of fish oil without fish, and it's awesome. So for everyone, grown-ups and children, and even vegans and vegetarians, for everyone who wants to have healthy memory. Next, my mind. It's just what the name says. Finally, we get to this formula. This is a clinical formula. It's very important. It has gone through clinical trials, and it improves cognitive abilities, logical thinking. The whole composition is such so that everything would work well here. If we only take my mind, yes, it will help you, but when you finish eating, it stops. But if you go through program I have shown you, go through gut, then through vessels, then the result will be long term. 3 patented compositions, 2 kinds of sage, and active formula of B12. And you understand that B12 and brain are inseparable. They're like Siamese twins, and it's all of plant origin. It's very unique. And the third patented formula, Aaron with 6 extracts of plants. Together, this composition strengthens long-term memory, short-term memory, attention, and concentration. And another couple, these are modern compositions of fast action. But we remember what brain needs for memory. A lot of energy, a lot of energy. So these compositions to a modern person who is very active help give energy. Sometimes we need energy very fast. So what are these compositions? Fizzy Easy Energy is clear, it's energy. And Fizzy Easy Q10, it's a very recent formula. What's Q10? It's substance like vitamins, which is present in all living cells. It takes part in producing energy. And the brain needs energy, heart needs energy, muscles need energy. So Q10 protects from free radicals. It has antioxidative functions, and it helps both memory and youth. And now about this soda effect, when you put the pill into water and it becomes fizzy. And I heard people saying, you say everything is natural, but fizziness is synthetic. I have good news about dual life. This fizziness is given by natural composition, which is called iperin. This is bioperin. That is from pepper. And you will see the color and smell it. It's not synthetic, it's also natural, and it helps improve memory. Of course, you need to train your memory, have correct supplements, and have adequate sleep. And don't forget, for example, walnuts. By the way, the inside of a walnut looks like a brain, and it helps the brain. And strawberry helps, and pomegranate, we have already mentioned that. Hawthorn and macadamia. Well, it only grows in Australia, but you can buy it. And if you are in Australia, you can collect them. And this helps protect your nervous cells. And also, what you need to remember that for good memory, to have good memory, to use your knowledge at any point, there is a rule, 48 hours. There's this rule. What is that rule? The new information, for example, like today, you have heard new things. I wanted it to be interesting for you. You have to use, not late than after 48 hours, at the best at once. By the way, those who are new people here who have been invited to listen to this information today, please communicate with those who have invited you, and they will tell you everything in detail. And today we thank our interpreters. And today we have two interpreters into English. It's Irina and Helene. Thank you. And see you again.